What is going on? We're back on Small Ball. It's a Monday. It's great to be back. It's really great to be back. I'm gonna notify the world here that we're live. Picture is grainy, because the Wi-Fi is not great, but it is what it is. And I'm in a new sort of spot here because I gotta watch a dog and make sure that the Cananic species is accounted for. So we'll just go from there. So we're in a new spot, grainy picture. Sometimes when the picture looks grainy from my perspective, when it actually goes through to your guys' end, it's actually okay. So hopefully that's the case. As I hear notify the world, we got a big show today. So obviously today's Monday, the first show this week, which is the week that baseball is back. So much to talk about on that front. We have. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna throw this out there right now. When the games start, which is Thursday, the day before or the show before, if we aren't gonna have a show leading up to those games, I'm going to drop my predictions for every single game this season. Assuming we go according to schedule, and we're going to see how it goes. Right? We're gonna I'm not necessarily a betting man, but for those of you that are, I'll give you my picks. I might even give some good bets, based on the money lines and what have you. And but I'm going to pick every game. And we're going to see how well I do. Baseball is obviously, extremely difficult in that regard because, the games are a lot less predictable than they are in other sports. We are live with a bunch of eyes and some exclamation points. Hopefully that will get the point across. So, packed show today, like I said, coming up in the week, obviously predictions for the games. But today, what I'm going to do is I dropped my preseason predictions last week, and it was brought to my attention by a guest that's actually coming on today, which I'll talk about in a second, that I did my playoff predictions and what have you, but I did not do my awards predictions. So I'm going to come at you guys with that today. I'm going to do AL and NL MVP and Cy Young. I'm not going to do Rookie of the Year. I might do that later, but especially this season, it's just so unpredictable who's going to be up, who's going to be down, and I just didn't feel like going down that path. So we're gonna give you my AL picks, my NL picks, maybe a couple sleepers, and we'll drop that. We'll drop that today. After that, we're gonna have a guest on, a good friend of the show, Linus Lawrence will be on at around 7:20, 7:25. He will give his thoughts on my predictions, and he will share his as well. And then we're gonna play, a staple of the show, really fun game. We've had a couple really good contests of late. Guess Shoe, which I have renamed Guess the Player. That's the name we're going to be going with for now. But I would like to start the show today with this. There's been a lot of talk, like I said, about predictions, right? Who's the NL MVP? Who's the AL MVP? Cy Young, blah, 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 blah. And everybody comes out, and everybody wants to have the sleeper of the century, right? Everybody wants to go for like the under-the-radar guy who they think is going to have a good year, and they want to be, really look really cool that they picked it and whatever. So, there's a couple problems that I have with this. I have no problem with being bold. I have no problem, obviously, with picking who you think is genuinely going to win the awards. But first of all, the sleepers that people think are sleepers are really not. Like, I'm going to give you an example in a second, but so many times I hear these like Instagram pages or these, just people and fans in general give their like hot take, and it's like Ronald Acuna or something like people have been talking about that for years. And there's one in particular that I'm going to get to that's really troubling to me. First of all, they're not sleepers. Like a sleeper would be like a guy who's literally never started, or consistently started on a major league roster, or, somebody who's never cracked 250, something like that. Like a sleeper is not, a Cy Young sleeper would not be a guy who had a 2.7 last year and was a rookie, and now he's like coming into his own and he's going to win the Cy Young. Like, that's just not a sleeper. Like, we're going to get to specifics. The second issue that I have with that is you got to look at circumstances. And we've talked about circumstances, a couple of times. And in baseball, circumstances are far less important than they are in other sports, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much. It's a lot easier to analyze players in baseball than other sports, because in other sports, the circumstances really make it difficult to truly analyze a player. But in my estimation, you only need one stat to analyze pitchers. That's ERA. You only need two, maybe three. You don't need that many stats to analyze hitters, right? Batting average, right? Slugging, RBIs, runs, stuff like that. Defense, assists, putouts, whatever. But they do matter. And people, because they matter far less than other sports, right? Like in football, a receiver, let's say a running back rushes for 1,000 yards. That means something, of course, but come on, like we gotta. DeMarco Murray a couple years ago, running behind the Dallas offensive line, like everybody knew that it was 1,000-yard season that wasn't really worthy of the praise that a typical 1,000-yard season gets. Like, we all understand this. And in baseball, we understand that too. But when we make our picks, we don't let it register and we don't let it factor into our decisions. So a hot name that I've been hearing recently is Jack Flaherty for NL Cy Young. Now, many a time on this show, I have talked about Jack Flaherty and the Cardinals pitching staff at large. This is a perfect example of a sleeper pick that's and not a sleeper, because Jack Flaherty literally almost won Rookie of the Year and is, I believe, like 24 years old and very good already, and that's just not what a sleeper looks like. And number two, Jack Flaherty is producing at a high level right now. So I don't necessarily mind the pick for NL Cy Young, but there's so much hype now around Jack Flaherty. And especially if he were to win the Cy Young, obviously there would be even more. Jack Flaherty to me is one of, if not the most overrated pitchers in the game right now, and here's why. Circumstance. Okay? Couple things. One, second-year player. How many times have we talked about on this show? Give me 3 years, maybe even 4, to see what you really are. Because you come up, you face these guys for the first time, they don't know what to expect when they face you, they struggle, you look tremendous, and what have you. It's a little bit more inaccurate for hitters, because pitchers, you can more clearly see their stuff, their command, that stuff. But it's very important to get a little bit more of a track record. Number two, and more importantly, circumstance. Jack Flaherty is a member of the St. Louis Cardinals, okay? The St. Louis Cardinals last year were number 5 in team ERA. That's with a staff of Flaherty, Miles Mikolas, and a bunch of nothing. Carlos Martinez, Alex Reyes was banged up and down. Nothing. John Brebbia at times. This is a unique circumstance because the Cardinals have the best defensive catcher maybe ever, certainly of this generation. B, the number 1 team defense in the entire National League, if not Major League Baseball. And C, an excellent coaching staff, especially on the pitching side. These Cardinals pitchers, it's similar. I would compare it to a running back or a core of running backs behind a tremendous offensive line. And it's so obvious in football. We know who the good O-lines are. We know who the running backs are that are benefiting from that. And that should have a similar effect in baseball, where we know that the Cardinals have Yadier Molina, Mike Shildt, and the best defense maybe in the entire. I think it's the A's in the AL. I think it's the Cardinals in the NL. I think they're neck and neck for the top spot in Major League Baseball, but the best defense in the National League. So Jack Flaherty has a breakout year. For his entire professional career has been a good but not great prospect. Has projected to be a 2, maybe a 3 type guy with solid command, a couple 2, maybe 3 plus pitches, and overall good pitchability, but not really wow stuff. And that is what we have seen from him. But his numbers reflect something even better. So I look at that and I say, the best defensive catcher, not only the best defensive catcher, but one of the best minds behind the plate of all time in Yadier Molina. Because he's getting up there, but his mind, his ability to call games, that doesn't go anywhere. Mike Shildt, who obviously has emerged as one of the top managers in the game, and this Cardinals pitching staff, or rather pitching coaching staff, is terrific. And of course, the defense, which is outstanding. You got Yadi behind the plate, who's great still. You got Goldschmidt, great. Colton Wong, excellent. Paul DeJong, excellent. My opinion, the most underrated defensive player, maybe outside Marcus Semien, in the game. Tommy Edman, very good at third. Tyler O'Neill, adequate in left. Harrison Bader, top 3 defensive center fielder. Dexter Fowler, very, very good right fielder. And depth. It's the best defense. The more I say it, the more I think it could be the best defense in Major League Baseball. Here are some Cardinals pitchers over the last few years that remind me a lot of Jack Flaherty. Why? Because they have pretty good command, not wow stuff, average to slightly above average stuff, pretty good pitchability, who really, really shined, and I think outperformed their physical abilities. There are a lot of them. Adam Wainwright, Chris Carpenter, Miles Mikolas, Michael Wacha, Mike Leake, Jaime Garcia, Lance Lynn, Shelby Miller, John Lackey, and now Jack Flaherty. This is what the Cardinals pitching staff has looked like for the last 10 years since Yadi got there and has been under, I don't know when this, it's a little bit fluid, but this pitching coaching staff has been there in St. Louis. These guys all look the same. Decent stuff, decent pitchability, solid command, throw strikes, let the defense work, let Yadi and the pitching and I keep saying pitching staff, let Yadi and the coaching staff work and just get people out. And Jack Flaherty is another one of those guys who now, because we're finally understanding the concept of prospects, everybody's on the prospect bandwagon. And when a prospect comes up, people are accustomed to seeing them in the minor leagues, way more so than they were in previous years. So the hype is out the wazoo, and they say, wow, this kid is special. Jack Flaherty, to me, is a solid 3 and a fringy 2 on another team, right? You stick him on the Rays, he's clearly the 4th best pitcher in that staff, and I'm not sure his ERA is under 4. But in St. Louis, the circumstances that he is in tremendously benefit him. And like I said, in baseball, we take for granted how accurate stats are, that we completely rely on them when we need to look at some of those factors as well. Moral of the story is Jack Flaherty is overrated. Decent pick for Cy Young. He's not mine, but if he wins the Cy Young, obviously he deserves some credit. I will credit the Cardinals as well. So, with that said, we have a guest today. It is Linus Lawrence. He's been on the show a couple times. Good friend of the show. Linus, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well.
Excellent.
Are we on the air?
We are. We are actually.
Wow,
we are
sick.
live. Welcome back to Small Ball.
Thank you. I'm honored to be back.
Of course, of course. So I have yet to drop my predictions. I'm going to do it quickly, and then I want to hear your thoughts.
Sounds great.
So I just talked a lot about Jack Flaherty, NL Cy Young, not feeling it with Jack Flaherty. Here's the thing. I'll start with AL Cy Young because it's sort of on topic. A lot of people, and my pick for the runner-up in the AL Cy Young is Tyler Glasnow. I think he's going to be the next great young pitcher in the American League. He and Walker Buehler in the AL and NL respectively. And he would be, as many see it, similar to Jack Flaherty, a sleeper pick. It's really not, right? We see this time and time again, these young guys, big-time stuff. They refine their command, and they become the next big thing. It's very within the realm of possibility that Tyler Glasnow can have a tremendous season. I don't think he's going to win the Cy Young for two reasons. One, like I said on last Monday, the Rays defense to me is the worst all-around team defense in the game of baseball right now. And number two, I don't have them.
Do they still have Kiermaier?
They do have Kiermaier in center.
Wow, that seems like a hot take to me then.
Well, I mean, look at it. I mean, you gotta. I challenge you to take a peek. But with Kiermaier in center, who is still a top-flight center fielder, but regressing. I mean, go around the diamond. You got Mike Zunino behind the plate, Ji-Man Choi at first, Brandon Lau or Joey Wendell at second, Willy Adames, who has really struggled defensively at short. You got an outfield, of course, of Kiermaier, but Austin Meadows, who is offense, and very little on the other side. You got Susugo from Japan is essentially limited to a DH role, so they try to slot him in at first. That's not much better. So really not a lot to show for defensively. And I think Mike Zunino is even regressing defensively. I mean, his arm is average to slightly above average, but he's not really helping out that pitching staff at all. So that's number one. But number two, I didn't have them. I didn't have the Rays, that is, making the playoffs. And if you look at historically, the Cy Youngs, you don't have to, but it's very, very likely that your team is playing games in October. Last couple of years we got Verlander, Snell, Kluber, Porcello, Keuchel, Kluber again, Scherzer. This is just in the American League, all of which were throwing for their teams in October. So my pick for the AL Cy Young is Zach Greinke because he is a regular season beast. Last couple of years, not necessarily getting it done in the biggest of spots, but has carved up the regular season. He is now playing only the AL and NL West, which have quite a few very beatable teams, which especially for him is going to give him an opportunity because he is a strike throwing machine, is an experienced vet with good pitchability, and I think he's going to carve up the Mariners. I would even say the Angels and Rangers. I would say the Padres and certainly the Giants and maybe at home the Rockies. So I'm going to go with Zach Greinke for the NL. For the AL, for the NL, I mentioned him already. I think the time is now for Walker Buehler. To me, next couple of years, he's going to emerge as the best, the most talented starting pitcher in the NL, if not the entire major leagues. And I think the time is now. I think he's ready to take home the hardware. So I'm going to go with Zach Greinke, Walker Buehler for MVP In the American League, this is going to be interesting if it comes true, because the Indians are going to have some big-time decisions to make if Francisco Lindor wins American League MVP, which I think he will. His power has been improving each of the last 3 to 4 seasons. Defensively, not only is he incredibly sound, but he's also a defensive playmaker, which the voters and writers are absolutely in love with when they are voting on these types of awards. And he's pretty much a lock to put up well above average contact numbers as well. I think it's going to be a great story. I think the Indians are going to make the playoffs, and I think he's going to absolutely lead them there. I'm going to pick Francisco Lindor. I gave some consideration to Aaron Judge. I gave some consideration to Marcus Semien, but my ultimate pick is Francisco Lindor. In the NL, I want to. This is tough. I think Cody Bellinger is really, going to emerge as similar to Walker Buehler, the next big thing, and I don't think that's a hot take at all. But in a shortened season, coming off a long playoff, a couple disappointing playoff seasons, I don't necessarily know if his consistency is there yet in a short season. My pick for the NL is Nolan Arenado. I think he's going to put up outstanding numbers. Last year, statistically, was actually his best offensive season. 41 bombs, a 315 average. Like I said, playing all of his games in the western part of the country, there are a lot of, in addition to Coors Field, hitters' ballparks in that area. There's 2 in Texas. Houston and Arlington are both really, really good for hitters. Obviously, Coors, Arizona as well. San Diego is kind of hit or miss depending on the weather. But a lot of opportunity for hitters in those Western divisions, and I think Nolan Arenado is going to take home the hardware. So just to recap, I have Greinke in the AL Cy Young. I have Walker Buehler for the NL, and I have Nolan Arenado, NL MVP, and I have Francisco Lindor for the American League MVP. So Linus, I want to hear your thoughts, and I definitely want to get to our little game here. But I definitely want to hear what you have to think, or rather what you have to say about those picks, and I'd like to hear yours as well.
Well, I guess I'll start with the Cy Youngs, which is where you started. I think that Walker Buehler is tempting, especially since I think of Walker Buehler as a guy that sort of like goes all out in big games, and I feel like every game this season is basically going to be a big game. So I think that Buehler's going to have a really good season, but ultimately I think personally that it's going to be the same top 3 as it was in 2018, which is.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. Give me that one more time.
Same. I think that this year it's going to be the same 3 that it was in 2018, which was DeGrom, Nola, and Scherzer. But I think that this time it's going to be Aaron Nola who wins. He looked really good, at least to me, in the spring training start he had recently, or the summer training start that he had recently. And I think that people kind of are overlooking him because he didn't have a very good, or by his standards, a very good season last year. But I think that his 2018 was still incredibly impressive, and he's still very young. And I think that the fact that the Phillies got Zach Wheeler can kind of take a little bit of pressure off him, and I think it's sort of time for him to explode onto the scene as one of the premier pitchers in baseball. But I do think that Buehler will have a very good season and will definitely be the Dodgers' most reliable pitcher. In terms of the AL, I don't see Zach Greinke having an amazing year personally. I don't really see anyone on the Astros having a particularly good year. I think that it's going to just be a down year for their club in general, especially someone like Greinke who hasn't been there for a while and is sort of towards the end of his career, as good as he was in the playoffs. I'm going to go with a little bit of a sleeper pick here and go with Jose Barrios.
It's so funny that you should say that. He was definitely on the tip of my tongue for my pick. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think that Barrios is. I mean, he just has amazing stuff. Whenever I watch him pitch, I'm always shocked that he doesn't end every year with a better ERA and a better WHIP. And I feel like, again, in a short season, anything can happen. So I tend to lean with these predictions towards the players that have the most potential, because I think that in a 60-game season, it's just going to be about whoever gets hot at the right time. And I feel like I can totally see Jose Barrios being that person. Some other people that I think are going to have great years are Blake Snell. I think is going to have a big bounce back year. I agree that Glasnow is going to do well. I don't know that I think he's going to do as well as you think. I'm not too sure about Justin Verlander on the Astros, but in the West, I also really like just a lot of the guys that the Angels got. They're not going to be Cy Young contenders, but I was really impressed with just the way that they upgraded their team ever so slightly on the pitching side. And also the Blue Jays. I mean, Hyunjin Ryu last year had a better ERA than Jacob deGrom. You could say he was maybe snubbed out of the Cy Young just based on 2 starts he had. And I think that the fact they got him, and also Tanner Roark, who's a guy who has proven himself to be a very reliable major league starter, along with Nate Pearson coming up, I feel like the Blue Jays might quietly have one of the best pitching staffs in the American League. So I'd say to watch out for them. But I am going with Barrios for Cy Young.
Interesting.
In terms of MVP, I love Nolan Arenado, and I think that he is basically every year my pick for MVP, but not this year, because I think that, again, going with the Phillies, I think that Bryce Harper is going to win MVP. I feel like after 1 year in Philly, he's sort of settled in there now, and I think that we've seen him go on absolute tears for 10 to 15 game stretches. And so I think that I'm going with double Phillies on the MVP and Cy Young with Harper and Nola. In terms of the American League, I know that it's boring, but I'm going with Mike Trout, because how can I not? I don't think that there's anyone else who is a better pick than Mike Trout. You just know he's going to put up amazing numbers. And especially with Mookie Betts out of the American League now, you could say Judge, or you could say Stanton or Torres, or Bregman, but I ultimately don't think that any of those people is a better pick as of right now than Mike Trout. One person who I would say not to sleep on is Matt Olson.
He is a guy that I considered as well.
Yeah, I think he may finally live up to his MLB The Show card.
Yeah.
And just start. I mean, I think him and Matt Chapman on the A's are both guys who are going to do really well. As well as, like, I think that Chris Davis is returning from an injury, Chris Davis with a K.
Mm-hmm.
And people aren't really paying any attention to him. I mean, he was a great power hitter for Oakland, and so he could have a very good season. Same thing with Cespedes on the Mets. There are a lot of power hitters returning who are injured, who I think have been out of it for a little while, but who could have great seasons.
Absolutely. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. I was very close to picking Barrios as well. You raised a good point when you said that you expect his numbers, ERA and WHIP, to be better. And I think what that comes down to, and the reason why I didn't have that, was his strikeout to walk ratio is less than ideal for me. He actually had fewer strikeouts than innings pitched, and he had 51 walks, and I think it was 201 innings or something like that. Mitch Garver behind the plate is not going to, give him, too much of an advantage either, and that coaching staff is a little bit more offense than defense. So I really like the pick from a talent perspective. I'm not sure he has the pieces around him to make it work, or quite the refined command at this point. But a very interesting pick.
I also think in terms of Glasnow that obviously we kind of have some better idea of what was happening with him in the playoffs against Houston when he got totally bombarded.
Yeah.
But I could see that playing some mental games with him. Like when you get hit that much in a playoff game, I think that it sort of affects you somewhat. So I would just worry about that with Glasnow. I also think with Barrios that the reason why I didn't pick Lindor for side for MVP is that I just don't think that the Indians really have much of a lineup right now. Like, after you get past Lindor and Ramirez, I feel like there's not that much protection for those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like their lineup got significantly worse this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the White Sox got better, the Brewers also got a lot worse. And that's another team that the Twins will be facing. So I just think that this sort of central offense in the NL and the AL declined a bit.
No,
So,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I like the Nola pick as well. I like the double Philly story. I think Harper is going to have a good season, more mentally than tangibly. We've talked about this many times on the show. I think he's ready to lead that team. I like Nola as well. I think definitely Real Muto and that coaching staff is improving and finding their groove. And as far as AL MVP, Mike Trout, obviously you can never say it's a bad pick. I just don't know if he's mentally invested enough in this shortened season with, the Angels, realistically, in my estimation, not a lot of potential to do anything this year. I think his wife is scheduled to give birth to a child, if I'm not mistaken, in the very near future. And I just don't know if he's going to be all mentally invested in this season. So I'm not sure. That's kind of my thought process around Mike Trout. But you always have to give some consideration in that direction when talking about AL MVP, of course. But I do want to.
And even though we're not doing full season predictions, I think it's worth noting that with my pick of Harper and Nola, I am predicting in general just for the Phillies to be the number one seed in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to make the World Series, but I think that they are going to have a really, really great year. I think that the signings of Gregorius and Wheeler are going to really, really help them.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a really good story for them. I do have them making the playoffs as well, not as the number one seed, but maybe the most interesting team to me this year are the Phillies.
The whole NL East is just totally, the four contending teams. I don't think that's the case in any other division.
No, certainly not.
And especially four teams where it's so unclear. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those four teams won 95 games, but I also wouldn't really be surprised if any of those four teams won 85 games.
For sure. It's going to be interesting to see if they beat each other up, too. I guess we'll see.
And another big piece of that is, the Marlins pitching staff is really not that bad. Mm-hmm. And they might be, they're not going to be good, but they might be a lot better than they were last year. And so the NL East might not be able to just totally dominate them the way that they did in the past.
Yeah, definitely. You got Caleb Smith, Sandy Alcantara, but anything can happen. It would be, definitely a season where we could have some serious sleepers in all cases. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. And I'm interested to see early on what happens if, the typical guys start to show signs early of going down that track. But anyway, I definitely want to make sure we get to our game, our newly named game, Guess the Player. So Linus,
I heard two barks for a curveball.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that'll give me some help because I'm 0 for my last 4 here on Guess the Player. Linus, are you completely aware of how this game is going to work?
I think so.
Okay, just to reiterate for you and for our viewers here, it's Guess the Player. So it's essentially back and forth yes or no questions until we can guess the randomly generated player that Linus and I have selected for each other. And once you ask a question, you can no longer ask a question of that variety. So if you ask a question about geography, if you say, "Is this team play north of such and such?" No more geography questions for the rest of the game. Not only that round, but the entirety of the 3-round game.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah.
Really?
So you got to be strategic. You got to be strategic.
And how many guesses? How many questions do you get to ask?
Whoever gets it first wins the round.
Got it.
Yeah.
So can you just guess after each round?
What do you mean?
do you guess after each question?
No, so you can use like your guess for that turn on a player if you'd like, and obviously the exception to the no more questions of that variety rule is just players. You can guess as many players as you would like.
Got it. And we're supposed to pick 3, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Randomly.
Randomly selected. So no DHs, no relievers, but they are all starting active players, and all depth charts courtesy of MLB.com. Hopefully we'll have time for 3 rounds. Like I said, I'm 0 for my last 4 here on Small Ball, so the guests have really been giving me the work. But Linus, I'll let you go first, and of course you and I can do some research to answer the questions as accurately as we can, but we obviously cannot look anything up to help us guess the player. So I'm going to be writing our questions down as well, and I'll let you go first, Linus, since you are the guest.
So I can just guess.
Yeah, to guess, a yes or no question, and be strategic because
I can't use it again then.
You can't use it again. Yeah, so there are some questions that will really help you narrow it down, but you might want to save it for later. It's up to you. So go ahead.
Are they an all-star, or have they ever been an all-star?
Ever. So okay.
Yeah.
So no. The answer would be no.
Okay.
Yeah. So Linus, I will. Okay. Here we go. Is my player? Was my? I gotta see. All right, let's do this. Linus, was my player is my player an infielder? So that would be third, second, short, or first.
No.
Okay.
Is my player under 25?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Just to clarify also, we ran into some so the answer, I'm not necessarily speaking to that particular question, but just to clarify things, like we had a question last game, does this player bat right-handed? And he was a switch hitter. So I said yes, because that isn't, that is a factual statement. So, okay. Yes, he is younger than 25.
Got it.
Linus, I will ask, did my player log at least 10 innings pitched in 2019?
No.
Okay. I can no longer ask about innings pitched. So no. Okay.
And are you looking at stats while you're doing this? Or are we allowed to?
You can look it up. Yeah, I am not personally, but if there is a stat that if there's anything that I don't know, then I'll look it up. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. It's tough. It gets a little confusing, but it's.
Has my player gotten over 1 year of service time?
Okay, I will say. So let me be. I need to be 100% sure about this. So I'm gonna say no.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Linus. I apologize. He has. He has.
Oh God, he has.
Over.
I just have a general question.
Yeah.
These people are on the active roster or the 40-man?
The active roster.
Got it.
So only starting players. Okay. So 1 year of service time for Linus. Okay. So Linus, I will ask you: does my player play in one of the central divisions? Play his home game?
No.
Okay.
They do not.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Is my player on a team that made the playoffs last year?
No. Very good question. Okay, Linus. Is my player a member of a National League team?
Yes.
All right.
Is my player from a franchise that was established after 1990?
No. Good question, though. Okay. Linus, does my player Linus, did my player bat above I'll say above 270 in 2019?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Did my player hit 10 or more home runs in 2019?
Yes. All right, Linus. Does my player bat left-handed?
No.
Okay.
Wow, this is hard.
It is.
I feel like there's got to be like an easy interface you could design to just
Yeah.
fix every time.
For sure.
Did my person get over 3? You get 3 WAR or more in, or no? Did my person get 2 WAR or more in 2019?
No.
And that's B WAR. To clarify.
No. Okay. Okay, Linus. Is my player Linus taller than 6'1.5"?
No.
Okay.
Is my player from a team that has won a championship this century?
No. Good question. Linus. Did my player's team make the playoffs last year?
No.
Interesting.
Did my person get Did my person get 10 or more stolen bases in 2019?
No. Jeez. Okay. Linus, has my player ever won either the MVP, Silver Slugger, or Gold Glove?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. I have an idea.
You have an idea?
I do.
Wow. This is so stressful. I'm still just making a list of.
It is very stressful. Wait, now I gotta think. All right.
Give me 1 second. I'm thinking here.
I have 2 options, actually. Maybe 3.
Does my player bat left-handed?
No. All right, I'm starting to get a sense. I think unless I'm missing someone, which I Certainly could be. I'm down to 3 options. So, Linus, I will ask, does my player no, what I'm just gonna start taking some guesses because I don't want to waste any questions here. So I will say, Linus, is my player Buster Posey?
No.
Okay. One down.
Is my player from a team that had a top 10 draft pick in the 2020 draft?
Yes. Yes. Okay, I forgot a player. Forgot a player. So now I'm back to 3 options. Linus, is my player JT Realmuto?
No, it is not.
Darn. All right. That was a bad guess, actually. But okay. Down to 2.
And my player is younger than 25, correct?
That is accurate, yes.
Hang on here. I'm getting there. Was my player drafted by this team that they are
on? No. No. Let me double check, but I don't think so. It's tough because I always want to like look up, like try to narrow it down, but you just gotta try to remember like every player that fits that bill. You know what I mean? It's like tough. All right, I'm ready to take another guess. Linus, is my player Kevin Pillar?
Not Kevin Pillar.
Interesting. I'm only down to 1 guy. I must be missing someone because I can't.
Well, then I better freaking get it.
It doesn't sound possible, but.
And I'm allowed to like be looking stuff up, right?
What do you mean? To help you answer my questions?
To help me like figure out like what the like criteria I should be looking at is. Or is that not allowed?
I don't entirely understand your question, but no, not really.
Okay.
Pretty much just gotta use the bank of knowledge that you entered the game with. What was your last question? I don't remember.
If they were drafted by this team, and you said no.
Okay. You're coming up with some nice questions that we haven't actually heard yet in this game. So okay. Tough. I have another. Oh shoot! I keep forgetting, guys. But I have two options.
Is this person on a team that made Is this person on a team that made the playoffs in 2012?
One second. No. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Okay. Short on time here. You might only have time for one round, but this is getting interesting. Linus, is my player Starling Marte?
No.
Darn. Okay.
So just to be clear, I'm not allowed to look up specific players and see if they fit my criteria. Right?
That's correct. Yeah, you gotta
Got it.
use the old noggin. Yeah.
Was my player acquired by this team? Was my player on this same team in 2019?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Linus, is my player? Is my player Andrew McCutcheon?
No.
Oh my gosh, I'm out of
options. Was I technically not allowed to ask did the team make the playoffs in 2020?
I was wondering about that.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, I was wondering about that when you asked. And I don't know. But I would say stay away from playoff questions. Yeah.
I won't do that again.
No worries though. No worries at all.
Was this player ever in the major leagues with another team?
No. All right, now I'm out of options, so I gotta rack the brain a little bit.
I hope I answered it. I mean, you can run me back to your questions. So.
Yeah, no, I'm confident that you did. I mean, I have a non-infielder. I have a non-pitcher. I have Western East, NL Western East, over 270, righty stick, under 6'1.5", non-playoff team. He has won an award, so that's got to narrow it down. I must be missing someone. And then I just started guessing players. In terms of MVPs, oh no, that doesn't work. Yeah, I can't think of any MVPs. It's got to be a Gold Glove that I'm just forgetting about. Okay, Linus. Linus, is my okay, here's what I'll do. Linus, does my team share a state with another major league team? Or does my player's team share a state with a major?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Wow, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
How much does that really narrow it down, though? That's like 3 of the teams in the East, and
that's true.
like 3 of the teams in the West.
That's true. It
Um,
knocks out the Diamondbacks. It knocks out the Rockies.
I think I gotta just start guessing people.
Perhaps.
It's like I don't really know if how these people got to these various teams.
Sure.
But if they hit at least 10 home runs,
It's a tough one. I'm going to be honest. It is not an easy one.
I've narrowed it down to 3 teams.
Okay.
But I still I can't really, especially like if they were on the team last year. It's got to be someone really obscure.
I wouldn't say like absurdly difficult, but it's certainly not easy. But I gotta figure out mine because I thought I had it in the bag and I did not. So,
is this person right-handed hitter? Is it all right, I'm just gonna go out on a guess. Is it like Teoscar Hernandez?
no.
All right.
Interesting guess though. All right, so I'm gonna think.
I've calculated, unless I'm wrong, that it has to be the Pirates, the Padres, or the Jays.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna think out loud as well. I'm down to the Mets, the Phillies, the Marlins, the Giants, and the Padres. Because no Nationals, no Braves, no Dodgers, no Rockies, no Diamondbacks. So we got, and I've also narrowed it down to outfielder or catcher who bats righty and hit over 270. And they've got to be some sort of a veteran because they've won an MVP, Silver Slugger, or Gold Glove. So let's go around. So the Mets don't have I don't think they have a righty. So the only righty outfielder or catchers that they have are J.D. Davis and Wilson Ramos, who are not, I don't think, 270 hitters or have won an award. I guess it could be Ramos. Then we're going to go down to the Marlins, who I can't think of anybody. Alfaro, no. I can't think of anyone for the Marlins. The Phillies, we tried McCutchen. We tried Real Muto. Harper's a lefty. Adam Hazley does not fit the bill. So we're going to go to the Padres, who don't have a righty who fits the bill either, I don't think. And the Giants, we tried Posey. We tried Kevin Pillar, which was probably a bad guess because he didn't hit over 270. And with the what was the other team? No, that's everyone. I'm gonna guess, is it Wilson Ramos?
Yes.
Oh shoot! Let's go.
I would also like to say though, how dare you disrespect
Lost you there for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how dare you disrespect JD Davis with a 307 average last year?
Really?
Yeah, 307, 22 home runs.
It's not so much the
895
average.
OPS.
It's not so much the average that did it for me, but the Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, MVP.
Yeah, Ramos won a Silver Slugger
Did not
in
realize that.
2016,
Did
the
not realize
National.
that. All right. Well,
So I put from the Jays or Padres. Still like to figure out who
one more time.
was my player from the Jays, Pirates, or Padres.
Yes. Yeah, you can keep guessing because we're out of time for any more rounds anyway. But
I would think it. I feel like it's gonna be someone on the Jays or Pirates.
I'll give you a hint. You were pretty close with Teoscar Hernandez.
Right. It's like one of those other random like right-handers that's young on the Blue Jays. It's not Randall Grichuk because he was on the Cardinals.
It's not Randall Grichuk.
It's not like gonna be Bichette or Guerrero, right?
It is not.
Is it like Danny, whatever their catcher is?
Jansen? No, it is not.
Wow, there's got to be like another. Oh, wait, no, that wouldn't make sense. Damn, who was like a right-hander on the?
I hope I didn't steer you in the wrong direction.
There's another guy. It's not Teoscar Hernandez. There's like another guy who.
It's like
Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
It is Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Yeah, I knew that. I always pair them together.
Me too.
I think they both hit home runs against the Mets on like July 4th one year.
Well, they're both left fielders by nature, so I always confuse them also.
Damn, I kind of meant Lourdes Gurriel. I think they just both hit like 3-run go-ahead home runs against the Mets in a series in July one year.
It was funny that you said Teoscar because when I randomly generated your player and got the Blue Jays left fielder,
you thought it was Teoscar?
Teoscar Hernandez, yeah. And I looked it up to be sure, and I was wrong. It was
honestly Gurriel probably would have been my next guess.
Yeah,
I thought about it. Wow, that was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Even more interesting, actually, was your next player for round 2 was going to be Wilson Ramos. So that is really interesting.
Wow. My other players were going to be Hunter Renfroe, who I love, one of my favorite players, underrated. And Harper, which is funny because we were talking about Harper earlier.
Yeah, you had Ramos and then Kyle Seager.
Wow, I would have gotten Ramos.
Yeah, when I got the Mets.
Wow, Lourdes Gurriel was by far the most random of those 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
But that was a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, wow, the Blue Jays are they're gonna have a good team.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of young talent.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Of course, thanks for coming. Great. Always a pleasure. All right, that's gonna do it for today's edition of Small Ball. We should be back tomorrow, leading up to the season. So thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and recommend if you feel inclined to do so. And have a healthy, happy, and safe rest of your Monday. And probably be back at it tomorrow and Tuesday. So thanks again for watching. Have a good one. Yeah. Peace.